to welcome everyone to the Virtual State of Success Massachusetts 2024 Business Outlook and Support Network event. We're so excited about today, not only because it's an opportunity to learn about the resources throughout Massachusetts, but we also get a quick overview of the economy from Dr. Osborne Jackson, who's a senior economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. I always get that wrong the first time. Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for being here. Thank you all the resource organizations and our attendees for their participation, and anybody who's going to be listening on later on. We anticipate today's session to be scheduled from 11 to 12 to be both enlightening and engaging. And in order to maintain the timeline and ensure smooth transitions, this is how the agenda is going to go for today. Dr. Jackson is going to give us a brief overview. You are going to be open to question and answers, but you will need to put your questions in the chat, and Elisa Glass will go ahead and talk about we'll read your questions to him. If we need any clarification, we'll get it at that time. We're going to give an extremely brief overview about the Corporate Transparency Act and understanding what it means for the LLCs, because there's been a lot of questions about that. And then we're going to do the resource organization spotlights. Each organization is going to give a 2-minute quick snapshot. And we're really excited about that because there's a lot of organizations and things that we have here today that you actually might not even know about. We did originally plan for breakout sessions. Unfortunately, I don't anticipate we're going to have time to do them today, but we do want to make sure that you are able to connect with anybody in the room that you want to connect with. So we are going to go ahead and start off with Dr. Jackson.
Great. Thank you so much, Lisa, for that kind introduction. And let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you again to Lisa for the invitation to speak with all of you today, and to the Massachusetts Veterans Chamber of Commerce more generally. And I wanted to give this economic update and hopefully give some background context for the remainder of the event. But let me start by just giving a brief background on the Federal Reserve System and my role within the system at the Boston Fed. So as you may already be aware, the Federal Reserve System is made up of the Board of Governors and 12 regional Fed banks, including the Boston Fed. And the research departments in each of those institutions, we help to support the responsibilities of the Fed, including, but not limited to, monetary policy. And so within the Boston Fed research department, we have the New England Public Policy Center, and that's the unit of which I'm a part. And our mission at the center is to promote better public policy in New England through our research and analysis of relevant economic and policy issues. And so those studies span a variety of topic areas, which as of late have included occupational licensing, affordable housing, less recently, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the opioid epidemic, just to name a few research studies. So moving on from that brief background on the Fed to the data, I wanted to start by talking about the labor market, and in particular, looking at non-farm payroll employment from a representative sample of U.S. businesses. And so this chart is indexed to February 2020, just before the pandemic recession. And so values above 1 indicate that employment has returned to that pre-recession level. One thing I should note just at the start of this talk is that most of the data that I'll be presenting are going to be running through November 2023. And so if I say now, then I'm referring to that timing as reflected in a given graph. So in this figure, we can see that non-agricultural employment in New England continues to rebound from the pandemic-driven recession. And it's now 1% above the pre-recession employment benchmark, which is slightly behind the US, which is 3%. Above its pre-recession benchmark. Now, New England's rebound is aided in particular by Maine and New Hampshire, Massachusetts, as well as Connecticut, which are the 4 states in the region that have attained their pre-recession employment level, Connecticut most recently, just slightly above. Now, in contrast to those 4 states, Rhode Island and Vermont have experienced a bit more sluggish job growth, and so they remain below February 2020 employment levels. Looking at a bit more detail at Massachusetts in particular, growth over the past year is 1.8%, adding 66,000 jobs, which is twice what we've seen in terms of long-term growth over a 30-year period. Oops. So we can continue to examine jobs growth, but now we're going to look at job growth by industries across the economy. And so expectedly, given the ongoing recovery, we can see that most industries in the region have experienced an employment increase relative to last year. And in particular, the New England industries that have seen the largest increases in employment growth are education and health, construction, and what's called other services, which comprises a wide array of possible services like dry cleaning and laundry, personal care, and so on. The New England industries with decreases or the smallest increases are the information industry, manufacturing, and finance. Now, in Massachusetts, we largely follow the same pattern, and that's not surprising as it often drives labor market patterns within the region as a whole. And so the largest increases are in construction, education, and health, and other services at 5.6%, 3.6%, and 3.6% again, respectively. While the decreases or the smallest increases are, once again, in information at negative 2.1%, manufacturing, a decline of 0.2%, and then government, which has seen an increase of 0.6%. Now, we can turn from looking at payroll survey information, which we gather from employers, to focusing on household survey information, which we get from a representative US sample of households, but still continuing to look at the labor market, but now through unemployment rates. So what we can see in this figure is that both in the nation and in the region, the share of the labor force that's been unemployed has been stable in recent months after we saw large declines since the second quarter of 2020. So for the nation, as of November 2023, unemployment was at 3.7%, and in the region, it was at 2.9%. Now, the more recent employment numbers, jobs numbers, came out last Friday, and unemployment rate in the US remained at 3.7%. The highest unemployment rate that we saw in the region at this time was in Connecticut, which was just below the US rate, whereas the lowest rates were in Vermont and New Hampshire, which is not unusual for those states to have the lowest unemployment rates in the region, as they typically have tight labor markets. And I'll get into a little bit more on that shortly. And so Massachusetts, as well as Maine and Rhode Island, are kind of lying in the middle. And if we look a bit deeper at metropolitan areas within Massachusetts, we can see that those unemployment rates ranged from a low of 2.5% in the Boston metro area to a high of 3.8% in New Bedford. Now, we might worry that what we saw in the previous figure regarding those unemployment rate trends is masking some movement of individuals, out of the labor force, and which would be contributing to the statistics. The unemployment rate is the number of unemployed as a share of the labor force. So people going from being unemployed to being employed can lower the unemployment rate, but also unemployed workers leaving the labor force entirely can also lower the unemployment rate. And those have very different implications for what we think about the economy. So we want to know which mechanism is actually more relevant. So we can look at labor force participation, which is the number of people in the labor force as a share of the civilian non-institutional population that's 60 and over. So it's a share of people that are working or actively seeking work. And so looking at this figure, we can see that there are high labor force participation rates for New Hampshire and Vermont traditionally. And that's what contributes to the typically low unemployment rates that I mentioned previously for those states. In other words, in those states, most of the people who can work are working. And so We can also see that labor force participation has indeed fallen since the onset of the pandemic and the last recession, and that is indeed contributing to some of the decline in unemployment that we're seeing. Maine, which typically has a low labor force participation rate due to its older population, has seen that rate decline even further since the pandemic, and it is there thus contributing to its low unemployment rate. And the sharp decline in participation that we saw after the pandemic may be due to different factors, including early retirements. But that being said, we've seen that prime age labor force participation rates, which is for people that are 25 to 54 years old, have now achieved their pre-pandemic levels for the nation as a whole. But we're still a bit behind in New England as far as those rates kind of recovering. So turning from the labor market now to examining output, we can look at how the prices of goods and services have changed using year-over-year growth in the consumer price index for the US and the region. So here, Boston CPI is reflecting the Boston, Cambridge, Newton metropolitan area in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. And until a few years ago, that was the closest we actually had to being able to look at the New England region. Data for the Northeast region were also available, but that covers New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania as well. Fortunately, as of late 2018, we also have data on the New England region specifically for the 6 states in the region. So we're seeing all 3 series here in this figure. And so we can see that recent inflation in the US and region has been declining, but remains elevated relative to the Fed's 2% target. And we can further break down inflation across various goods and services. So in November 2023, for all items, inflation rate was 3.1% in the US as a whole, 2% in New England, and 2.4% in the Boston metro area. Now, if we omit food and energy items because of their volatility, that core inflation in November 2023 was higher in all of those areas due to the high prices of other goods and services such as shelter, which we can see in the figure. We can also take a look at how home prices have changed via year-over-year growth in the repeat sales home price index for the US and New England. And so that's the price of the same property repeated over time. And these data are from the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and they reflect single-family home prices from purchases. So it's excluding refinance appraisals. So housing prices continue to appreciate for New England and the US, and more recently at an increasing rate following a long period of declining rates, with the New England rate currently exceeding the US as of the 3rd quarter of 2023. Now we can break that down a bit further, looking at home prices across states. And so in the US, the growth rate in the 3rd quarter was 5.5%, and in New England, it was 9.3%, so indeed higher. Comparatively, a year prior, it was 12.1% in the US and 10.6% in New England. Now, within the region, house price growth ranges from nearly 8% to nearly 12%. Vermont has the highest growth rate at 12.2%, excuse me. And Massachusetts has the lowest rate at 7.6%. And so that range and those particular values kind of indicate a northern-southern disparity. That's actually the reverse of what we have historically seen when prices were typically lower in the north of the region and higher in the south. And this reverse pattern might be partly driven by relatively lower demand for densely populated metro areas since the onset of the pandemic, as people were kind of moving away from cities towards more rural areas. And it's also in part driven by very low inventory, given people not wanting to list homes and lose mortgage rates that they've locked into. In Massachusetts metropolitan areas, if we dig into the state a bit more, those year-over-year growth rates range from a low of 4.3% in Barnstable to a high of 7.3% in Worcester. The Boston metro area is 5.6% in case of interest. And so lastly, we can examine consumer confidence as measured by the Consumer Confidence Index from the Conference Board. And this is a monthly survey of 5,000 households where the base year is where the index equals 100 and is 1985, which was chosen because it was neither a peak nor a trough in the business cycle. So we were kind of in the middle of a recovery period. And so as we can see from the figure, the index was steadily rising following the Great Recession until falling again in the most recent pandemic recession. And it kind of persisted at that declined level throughout 2020 and is now hovering between the levels just before and after the pandemic recession. And if we break down the index further into its components, present and future components, we can get a little bit more detailed picture. And so the average of these index values for questions on current business and employment are what form the present situation index. And the average of index values for questions on future business, employment, and family income form the future expectations index. And so we can see that consumer confidence has increased compared to a year ago in both New England and the US. Nationally, the values went from 109 to just below 111, and regionally from just above 114 to just above 118. So both regionally and nationally above that 100 baseline that's linked to 1985. We can also see that both regionally and nationally, that increase is driven by both improved sentiment about the present as well as future expectations. And consumer expectations, consumer feelings about the future are more optimistic than they were a year ago in New England. But we can see that the level is below 100, and so relatively less than in the mid 80s. Okay, so I'll just conclude. I think I'm right about that time. And so we can see from these data that labor markets are reflecting continued but moderated economic recovery at the moment. Inflation remains elevated but is declining, and home prices are rising. And consumers appear confident about both the present and the future. So I'll stop there. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions if anyone has them. I'll stop sharing.
At this time, you did such a great job, Dr. Jackson, that no one has a question. That's how superb your presentation was.
Those are words I've never heard, so I will take them and store them away for future moments. No, thank you. That's very kind of you. I see that there are comments in the chat. I'm not sure.
No, there actually are giving
okay, I see.
You're also being told thank you.
I see. Got it.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Well, thank you, everyone. I very much appreciate getting a chance to give the presentation.
Thank you very much. This is the last chance. I mean, how often do we actually get somebody from the Bank of the Federal Reserve actually in here so we can ask a question? This is your last chance. Okay. Thank you, Dr.
I'm surprised that the growth is only really in education and health. I wasn't actually expecting that, so I was really surprised about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. So, I mean, that's both a large sector or a large super sector and an important industry in the region. And so, growth being driven by that industry can be a combination of, the rate itself, but also the size of the industry and its importance within the region.
And this is being done because of consumer wanting this, or this is just opportunities to open up businesses?
I mean, the data themselves just reflect jobs. So based on information that we're getting from employers, like who's on the payroll, and so that's a combination of supply and demand in the labor market. So it's a vacancy that gets posted, but for it to actually show up as somebody being on the payroll, there has to be somebody to fill it. And so it's a bit of both. Which one is actually, we have tight labor markets right now because of low unemployment, and so there are vacancies that are going unfilled. But as far as the jobs numbers, that's reflecting filled jobs. So it's both demand and supply.
Okay, well, we are getting some questions here, and we're being asked, and you're being asked actually, is it a good time to open a business in Massachusetts? And how does Massachusetts compare to the rest of New England in terms of barriers to open new businesses?
Uh, that's an excellent question. So you know, I was recently, actually looking at occupational licensing due to some work I was doing for the center, and I know that as I recall, the prevalence of licensing in Massachusetts was not the highest in the region. So there on that dimension, there are places within the region where the requirements are a bit more onerous on the worker side, which can then potentially spill over into things that matter for employers, depending on how hard it is to find workers that fill the skills that you're looking for. I'm somewhat less familiar with the range of different potential barriers to entry for businesses within the region. So it's a bit hard to assess whether or not how Massachusetts compares, and then whether or not it's a good time to open a business. I mean, I think one way to think about that question is in terms of where we are in a business cycle, and we're in a recovery. We're seeing that vacancy rates, or rather unemployment rates, are low, and so the markets are a bit tight. So one challenge that potentially presents to employers that we have heard is that it's hard to employ people right now. It's hard to hire. And so, especially given, where we are now post-pandemic, and, preferences regarding, reasonable preferences regarding remote work, or, scheduling flexibility, something that has come up in terms of difficulties, and, needing to compensate workers accordingly in terms of either higher wages or other benefits in order to woo them. And so I think that's certainly something that would matter for a prospective employer in terms of whether or not now is a good time to start a business if you're looking to hire. If you're looking to be self-employed, then that's a different consideration. But yeah, so I can say that. But I mean, I think it is a good idea to be aware of the scope of regulations one has to actually fulfill in order to start a business. But whether or not it's a particularly good time or not just depends on the nature of the business as well. We see that things differ across industries, as you saw from some of the figures, and so whether it's a good time to start a business if you're in leisure and hospitality versus manufacturing are kind of very different questions.
Well, it's amazing what you're talking about, but at the Massachusetts Veteran Chambers of Commerce, one of the comments that was discussed was the inability to hire somebody with the qualifications that you need to perform the duty of a specific job. So that definitely falls into what you were discussing. Thank you so much for that answer. We have another question here. What do you think are the primary needs of business owners that entrepreneurial support organizations can focus on to support economic growth within the Commonwealth?
The primary needs of business owners. So, I mean, I think, at least for me, I'm often informed by what we're told by people in the community. And so, the point that I was making about difficulties in hiring, we've heard from various forums that we've had. Like we had a Fed Listens forum a few months ago, and we were getting to hear about difficulties that employers were having, and difficulties that workers were having in terms of matching to certain jobs. And so as far as owners of entrepreneurial support organizations, I mean, I think if we continue on that last point, there is this need to match workers to jobs and match jobs to workers. And so things that can help facilitate that match, I think help support growth. And so, it's sometimes it's it's not always the case that it's an issue of the person for the role not existing, but it's an issue of finding the person. So there can be, some potential, assistance regarding information that could potentially help, foster that matching within the labor market. I think also, as economists, we believe in information and more complete information helping, the efficiency of the market. And so, as somebody that's trying to obtain a job, part of what you're trying to assess is what are my outside options? And so having information about, what's the going rate that someone with my background can earn, I think helps people assess, what the wages that they should be potentially asking for. And that can likewise, be useful for employers to know, what wages people are that they're seeking or tending to get, and so that there are more kind of realistic expectations on both sides of the market, so that matches can occur. So I mean, I think information dissemination is one thing I would say as an answer to that, but that's just one avenue.
Thank you so much. So we're getting some thank yous here.
Very welcome. Yeah.
And to see, I think we're good with some questions here.
Great. Those are great questions. I appreciate people asking them and hopefully able to help answer some of those inquiries.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So so right now what we're going to do is I am just going to tell you about one of the biggest questions that I've had over the last couple of weeks was people who are really upset and concerned about this new requirement for the Transparency Act, the Corporate Transparency Act, and the register and the fees that are going to be charged if you do not register it on FinCEN. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you have until January 2025. So you have till the end of this year to register as if you are an LLC. So please, if you are an LLC, make sure that you find out what's going on and make sure that you understand the rules. If you look at the guidelines, and you are going to get a resource guide after this, which not only lists all of the organizations that are here today and their website, it also has a section in here with a direct link to the FinCEN for you so that you can actually look at it and look at the new requirements. There are a bunch of changes for 2024. You don't have to freak out about them. You just have to be aware of them and make sure if you are an LLC that you register your business properly. I anticipate that there are going to be Secretary of the State webinars out there in reference to it. There's a ton of things on YouTube. So I do also anticipate there is going to be that. So be aware of it. And then one of the other big changes that I put in the resource guide is the $600. So there is a reprieve for 2023 for the reporting of digital transactions over $600. I gave you the direct IRS link for that so that you don't have to be concerned. But I do want you to be aware, one of the things that businesses have a tendency to really struggle on is when there's new changes, people start to get concerned. And instead of reaching out to an organization to ask for help, they just start sweating it and panicking and then figuring out all the wrong things. So be a little bit proactive. You've got time, be proactive, understand the rules so that you're going to be good to go. So that's the point that I wanted to make specifically in reference to that. Now for the part that for me is always exciting. It's always important to understand the economy. And to be honest, there is a lot going on today, right? We have a lot of struggles and a lot of challenges as businesses throughout Massachusetts. And with all those challenges, really comes, let me figure out how to do it. How am I going to survive day to day? What am I going to do? Well, in the state of Massachusetts, we have more resources that are not being used because people are Googling, trying to figure it out on their own. You don't have to. The resource organizations are out there, and we have 17 with us today. I am going to anticipate that not all 17 are here. So if what we're going to do is I'm going to call out the first one, the business name, and whoever for the business is going to be here, I'd like you to step up and go ahead and answer the questions with your name, your organization, what you do, and make sure that we know why people need to go to you. And everybody gets a whole grand total of 2 minutes. And I do have my timer for the 2 minutes so that we can get through everybody, and also so that everybody can know exactly what's going on. So we are going to go ahead and start with Jason. Well, Jason, I don't know if you're doing Berkshire Bank. Let me rephrase that. We're going to start with Berkshire Bank, and
You had
then
it
we're going to
right.
follow up by Common Capital.
No, thank you, Lisa. I'm Jason Niles from Berkshire Bank. I am the team lead for our MyBanker program. You would contact me if you're in need of financial services. MyBanker is a financial quarterback, so you get paired, as a business owner, individual, or nonprofit with a financial quarterback that's really looking for ways to add value for you and your entity. So we're going to your place of work, your office, your home, where it's convenient, when it's convenient, and giving you priority service. We're available 24/7. So kind of a unique program at Berkshire Bank. We work with a lot of veterans. I am an Air Force veteran myself, and I'm also on the board of the Mass Veteran Chamber of Commerce. Didn't need the full minutes, so 2 minutes, Lisa, so I'll give it back to you.
Okay, fantastic. So let me go ahead. Somebody switched, so that's how come we ended up with Andrew in the spotlight there. So let me go ahead and get Jason out of our spotlight. And who is going to speak on behalf of Common Capital? Okay, so we're going to go for E for all. Okay, now let's go to Hanscom Federal Credit Union.
Yeah, hi, it's Michael Duffany, Chief Lending Officer here from Hanscom Federal Credit Union, and thank you for having us. As you know, Hanscom was founded with the notion of helping veterans, so not only on the residential side, but on the commercial side with veteran loans and SBA loans. Our biggest focus over the last 2 years is financial wellness, to be able to help people in these times to get their budgets in order and all the rest of the stuff. And what I see mostly when it comes to startups and things of that nature is the liquidity issue. And we are able to help people even before they decided to start a business to get their house in order with certified financial wellness coaches in each one of our branches and most of our member facing areas, so we can help people navigate the times. I also would like to say that some of the most successful business has opened during these challenging times. So I think that it's always a good time for businesses to open, especially if we have a decent idea. So I'll give back my time. Thank you for having us.
Wow, I don't think I've seen anybody move that fast. Okay, so let's go ahead and move that. And I actually missed in the list, we are going to have Northeastern come on in a little bit. I'm excited about that program. So let's go ahead and Living Local. Who's going to speak for Living Local? Please unmute yourself.
Billy, on mute.
I was going to say that I think Bobby Barquette, our executive director, would be a good choice.
Okay.
Boy, you see, that is a hot potato. Was that a hot potato just thrown into? Okay, so Bobby Barquette, I'm the executive director for Living Local 413, and we are a business community development organization, all-inclusive, universal, neutral. We're a web-based platform. Our mission simply is to shine the light that everything is great within the 413, and of course, that also means the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. One specific program that we have that would be very beneficial to veterans, especially the VCC, is our community calendar that just came into action back in the fall, that shows all the networking events within the 413, and it's populated already. So if you went to livinglocal413.org and searched for our calendar, you would see all the networking events by month: January, February, March, April. So for folks seeking to network their existing businesses and grow a B2B relationship, this would be an outstanding tool for you to utilize. And any other questions or anything like that that you find after you've visited our site, please contact myself or Bill Cole directly, and I'd be more than happy to help you with that. And this year is all about us building our programs that are all business focused to help out everybody. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate your time. Everybody there.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Boy, I actually don't even have, I feel like I don't even have to use the timer. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, after Living Local, now we got MassCEO, which is administered by ICA. And let me unspotlight you.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay, hi, I'm Shelley Miller with the ICA Group. I'm the director of what we call New Ownership Opportunities and Outreach. And the ICA Group administers the Massachusetts Center for Employee Ownership, which we call MassCEO. And we're here because we want Massachusetts businesses to know about employee ownership. We feel that veterans is a particular group that we have targeted to work with because we think they're very compatible with one of the models, which is called worker cooperatives. And we help the business owners sell the business to the employees, or the employees acquire the businesses from the owner. MassCEO has been operating in its current form since about 2018. ICA has been doing this work since 1977 and is considered a leading expert in employee ownership. And we help businesses do a few things when they want to consider employee ownership. We help to identify and assess the transition options for exiting business owners, whether you're retiring or looking for the next phase in your life. We help you figure out the value, the worth of your company, and determine whether or not employee ownership is financially and operationally feasible for you. And we do this and compare it with all your other options. We give you a 30-minute free consultation and greatly encourage you to take advantage of it. And we are supported by the state of Massachusetts to do these feasibility studies for businesses in Massachusetts. So that's all I have. I guess I don't need all my 2 minutes either.
Well, thank you so much. And I will tell you, there is nothing more difficult than the feasibility study. I've done them, and they are not my friend. Okay, so MassDvelopment.
Excellent. I have the feeling, based upon past experience, that I'm definitely going to be the first one to be cut off. I am Rob Anderson. I work for a statewide quasi-public organization called MassDvelopment. We're a finance agency, and oftentimes there are businesses out there that say, I have a financing gap. I'm talking with a capital provider like a credit union or a bank, but there is still that gap that I need help filling. How can the state help? that's where mass development can come to the table. We are perhaps most well known as the entity that owns and operates the former Fort Devens. So for people who know the military here in Massachusetts, when Fort Devens was closed as part of the BRAC process, MassDvelopment took it over and has used that as an economic development engine for that region of the state. However, we work in all 351 cities and towns. So while I myself cover the central part of the state, we do have representatives in the Southeast, in Greater Boston, in the Northeast, and in the West. And I oftentimes like to say there is no wrong doorway into economic development in the state. And that includes being and participating with chambers of commerce, like the Military Veterans Chamber that invited me here today. We all try to work collaboratively to make things happen. And so in thinking about mass development, we are a finance agency to help fill in some of those gaps. And we work with all sorts of other various state partners to make sure it can happen. Because they weren't here earlier, I'm going to take some time from E4All. I myself am an E4All mentor out of Greater Worcester. It is a great opportunity for professionals to offer expertise to entrepreneurs looking to start out. It is a great resource for the businesses. There are some grants that come out as a result, and there are also the opportunities to tell the story of your business to people like myself, to lawyers, to accountants, to other people who believe that a stronger Massachusetts economy is built upon small businesses and collaboration. So I maybe didn't even hit that 2 minutes, but Lisa, I appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak, and for you allowing me the flexibility to say everything I needed to. So thank you.
Absolutely. You did go over your 2 minutes, but when you threw you were covering for E4All, I was like, we're going to let you go. So really you stayed within your time because you threw E4All in literally as the timer was going on. So now we are going to go to Mass Hire. Let me pull out. And do we have Mike, Ryan, either one of you here for Mass Hire? Okay. And Massachusetts Founders Network.
I thought it might be me. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And I already started a 2-minute timer, by the way, so we'll stay on track here. All right, let's get going. Can I just get a thumbs up if you're seeing this? Lisa, you're seeing this? Cool. Yeah, so it's me. I'm Andrew Fitch. Hi, everyone. I am a community engagement manager for the Massachusetts Founders Network. The MFN, Massachusetts Founders Network, is a program of Lever Inc. Lever is based in North Adams, Massachusetts. And for those of you who likely don't know what North Adams is, because I didn't know about 3 years ago myself, I moved here during the pandemic. It is the smallest city in Massachusetts. It's also, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, it's the coolest city in Massachusetts, kind of the land of opportunity. But that's neither here nor there. I'm here to talk about our statewide initiative, which is this MFN. So the MFN is essentially a website, a resource guide, a collection point for startups across the whole state of Massachusetts so that everyone can connect to the resources that are especially heavy in the Boston area, regardless of where they are. So they can stay where they are, be successful where they are, yet still network and connect with founders all across the state. So everything is all about connecting, collaborating, and changing the game of the Massachusetts Founders Network. So this is what the website looks like when you come to it, and I'll post a link in the chat in a moment. So folks, this is really, it's a free resource, by the way. We do have a membership, which I'll talk about in a second, but that's really just so you can collaborate behind the scenes with other founders without being sold to by business developers or whomever else might want to be reaching out to you. So it's kind of a private network within the membership, but otherwise our journal is free. We have this content engine where we're producing guides all the time. For example, non-dilutive funding guides or how to find venture funding. That's like in our capital section. The journal is all these different ESO stories, entrepreneurship support, organization stories, and resource guides and content specific areas like how to manage how to manage your website effectively, how to make your website more search engine optimized. Our network too, we post events all across the state, and I'm at the 2 minutes. So I'm just going to wrap up by saying, consider checking this out. I mean, at the very least, just go and browse the website. At the most, consider joining this. And again, you can collaborate with other founders behind the scenes, behind this network. So I look forward to seeing you folks in there. And thank you for your time.
Or you really did keep that at the 2-minute window.
I think it was 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Apologies.
You're okay. We had 3 of them not show up, so you were doing good. So now we're going to go for PTAC.
Hi, everyone. I'm getting so nervous just to make the time. Anyway, I'm getting over a cough. So good morning, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to speak today to spotlight our organization. My name is Grace Otter, Procurement Specialist for Massachusetts Apex Accelerators Program. You heard Lisa said PTAC. We're rebranding. So our new name is Massachusetts Apex Accelerators. We used to be PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. I provide technical assistance and advise Massachusetts small business owners on how to do business with federal, state, and local government. So think government contracting, that's all we do. Apex Accelerators is funded in part by the U.S. Department of Defense. We provide no-cost advising on all aspects of selling to the federal, state, and local governments. In order to take advantage of our free services, you must demonstrate the potential for success, such as having been in business for at least 2 years. So that's you have to be in business for at least 2 years. And you have to be a for-profit business entity. And here are a few services we offer. We have one-on-one confidential counseling on government contracting, assistance with registrations and certifications such as SAM, System for Award Management. We help small businesses with capability statements, assistance with technical research. We have sort of like the NAICS codes, national stock numbers for machine shops and all kinds of businesses. We offer workshops on various state and federal programs such as women-owned small business certifications, hub zone certifications, small disadvantaged business such as the 8A program that's offered by the SBA. We collaborate with various research resource programs and agencies. We also help small businesses with assistance with Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is the state of Massachusetts certification programs. I'm not gonna name all of those. And namely, shout out to veterans. We help small businesses who are veterans with the Veteran First Contracting Program, which is the VET SET certification. We also help with General Services Administration schedule contracts because they sell you can buy through the General Services Administration. Assistance with subcontracting opportunities, cybersecurity. We offer procurement training and matchmaking events. We also provide, if you join us, we provide monthly news letter to let you know what's going on in the contracting world. And we have our main product, which is the bid match assistance to search and find contracting opportunities. We help you review proposals and then post-award counseling. And lastly, we remain committed to supporting and helping small businesses through counseling services offered through businesses looking to compete in federal, state, and local government contracts. I've attached information on how to contact us via the chat box. And we also have I keep saying PTAC, Apex Accelerators throughout the country. So if you're listening and you're out of state of Massachusetts, you can access other Apex Accelerators. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Grace. We appreciate it.
I think I went over, right?
You did. I was getting ready to shut you down, but you said lastly, so you were okay there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oreste asked if he could jump ahead because he has to leave. He's with the SBA. So we're going to go ahead and put Oreste up next, and then we're going to get back to alphabetical order. Oreste, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everyone. Oreste Varela, Small Business Administration. We are an agency, a national agency, so we're all over the country. We have 2 offices, one in Boston, one in Springfield. I'm here in Springfield. There's 3 basic areas where we provide assistance: counseling, capital, and contracting. Counseling, I do some counseling myself, but the real counseling is done with our partners, and most of them are here today. You already heard from Grace, and you're going to hear from SCORE and the Small Business Development Center. We also have the Veterans Business Outreach Center, which works with just veterans, and the Center for Women in Enterprise. So we have these 4 resource partners all across the country. We're here in Mass to help do the one-on-one counseling, the in-depth counseling. You can meet every week, every whatever you can, and indefinitely. And it's really all of our assistance is from the ideation phase of a business, when you just got the idea, until the exit strategy. So every aspect of the business. Capital, that's the next C of the 3 C's. Money. Everybody wants to know about the money. Where's the money? I get a question every day about grants. Generally, there's no grants from SBA, but we do have loan programs. And you already heard from Jason Niles from Berkshire Bank. And even though Common Capital wasn't here, but we have a laundry list of lenders who provide SBA loans. So there's that. And then the last thing is contracting. And again, Grace covered a great aspect of that with Apex Accelerators, but we have 2 people in our Boston office who are contracting specialists. That's all they do all day, every day. And so government contracting is very lucrative, and we can teach you how to do that. What I've put in the chat box is our website. If you go to sba.gov/MA. Now, if you're in a different state, put the abbreviation for that state. But what's important about our website is if you go down the page, you'll see all the different events that we participate in and our resource partners also provide. There's not a day that doesn't go by where there's some kind of training, webinar, whatever that people can attend. It's all free. We have in-person events. We have a big event up in Taunton, I think next week, in-person event, a capital access kind of, but again, go to our website, sba.gov/MA, and you'll find that. And also, if you page down, you'll see you can sign up for our newsletter. I'd urge anyone who's interested in what we're doing to get on our newsletter. And then you'll know every different aspect, whether it's events, whether it's new changes, whatever it is.
Thank you, Oreste.
Anyway, that's
I'm
the
going to
quick
have
and
to
dirty. Thank you.
have to close it up. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks again.
Okay, so we are going to go with the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center is next.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So my name is Rob Del Mastro, and as Oreste just said, I'm part of the program he was speaking about. I'm with the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center, known as MSBDC. We work with small businesses, every phase of the development of the small business, from, hey, I got an idea, to launching that business, and then, working with them through the whole life cycle of their business. So we provide counseling in areas like operations, marketing, sales, working with them on their digital footprint, finance, growth. If they're interested in pivoting, we'll help them with that. Expansions and even all the way to retirement and selling their business. Grace is part of our organization, so of course she mentioned the government contracting. We also have an import-export division, work with businesses doing import and export, and we have an individual who works with the SBIR program. So we truly work with small businesses in all aspects of their life cycle. The great thing about us, our services are at no cost to our clients. Everything is confidential, and they're one-on-one advising with our senior advisors. Most of our senior advisors have run businesses in their past life. So we have 6 regions across Massachusetts. I work in the Western region, which is the Franklin, Hampshire and Hampton counties. We're also affiliated with UMass Amherst in the Eisenberg School of Management. Our home office is right there on campus. So again, Rob Del Mastro with the Small Business Development Center. I did put my contact information in, and that's it. That's who we are.
Thanks, Rob, for adding more to it. I couldn't fit that in. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And Hope is going to have to leave, so we're going to let Hope pop on now. Did she already pop out? Nope, there's Hope.
I'm
Okay.
right here. Hi,
Hope.
everybody.
Good.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
My name is Hope Ross-Gibaldi. I'm the Executive Director of Valley Venture Mentors, which is based in Springfield, Mass, but serves Western Massachusetts. Where we focus on building entrepreneurial support in the Western Mass region and connecting entrepreneurs with resource organizations. And our primary focus in terms of our comprehensive programs is that scaling stage. So we help entrepreneurs through entrepreneurial education, mentorship, and networking opportunities. And yeah, so I put the information for our website in the chat. It's valleyventurementors.org. And you can reach me at hope@valleyventurementors.org if you have more questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Hope. So John is having some problems. John, do you want to come on and just talk with your camera off? Or do you just want me to say that you guys are available and you gave us some frequently asked questions, which we're going to send to everybody so that they know they have frequently asked questions for the SDO?
I'll come on very quickly. John Fitzpatrick with the Mass Supplier Diversity Office. And it's been nice that some of these organizations I'm not familiar with, which is really good. So thanks, Lisa. We certify minority, women, veteran, service disabled veteran, LGBT, and disability-owned businesses to meet state contract diversity goals and diversity goals on state construction projects primarily. But we also do a lot of training, and we work with pretty much almost every organization on here in some capacity. So this has been a good event, and I can't believe my audio held up through it. So thank you very much.
You are welcome. Okay. So now we've got Tony with the Massachusetts Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Poor Tony. I feel real bad for him because he was not expecting to step in and do this. So thank you, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for throwing me under the bus. Anyway.
Anytime.
So my name is Tony Manka. I'm with the, obviously, the Massachusetts Veteran Chamber of Commerce, right? We are here to support military, veteran spouses, entrepreneurs, and business owners or future business owners, right? We with all this information that you're getting, we're here to provide and help you guide with all this information you're getting. Because all these folks that are telling you whatever little information that they're giving you, they are barely scratching the surface of what all their capabilities are. Excuse me. So that is basically like drinking water out of a fire hose. There's only so much that you can retain. But we are here to help you in order to set up a meeting with these particular agencies, an introduction, getting some education on what else they can do and stuff. Again, we are here to help, right? From your idea stage, the growth, and all the way to beyond and stuff. So please, please, please do not hesitate to contact the Massachusetts Veteran Chamber of Commerce. I'll give you my phone number right now, 413-885-8225. Again, 413-885-8225. You can call me, text me, whatever you want if there's questions that you have and stuff. We are here to help. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Tony. Now we are going to Northeastern, who I left off. We are going to go ahead and bring them on. I believe Christina is actually going to be doing the presentation for that.
That's right.
I'm excited about this one.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be able to connect with all of you. I'm Christina Osborne, and I'm a partnership development coordinator for Northeastern's Experiential Partnerships Group. And what that means is that we provide businesses like yours the opportunity to work with students on projects that are based on the real needs that your organization has. So together we can craft a project description and a deliverable that then will be embedded inside a relevant Northeastern course executed by the students and then with expert faculty oversight. And these projects are typically research-based and with some sort of actionable deliverable that then provides you insight and recommendations to inform critical business decisions. And it's really well matched with small businesses or growing businesses. It enables your organization to gain valuable project-based work at no cost to you, while giving students highly relevant work experience and a real-world learning opportunity. And so the expectation is that you would interface with students virtually up to 1 hour a week to provide information and feedback as they develop their work, and then you would get the result of their research and recommendations at the end of the academic term. We accept projects on a rolling basis and have a really wide variety of courses that we work with within the university, but some ideas that might spark some interest with you would be marketing or business development projects, especially around consumer research, international expansion, or supply chain topics, business management projects like around financial strategy, marketing, or other strategic initiatives, and even analytics or other business intelligence projects. Students can process, analyze, and provide recommendations about large data sets or other information that you would like insights on. I'll drop our link and my email in the chat, and feel free to reach out and we can chat about your business needs and how students might be able to help serve them.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I will tell you, I currently have a program running that just started this week. So it is one of the best programs I've seen if you are looking for any type of guidance or assistance of even how you're going to do something, strategies, etc. Last but not least is SCORE. We are going to bring Lynn up, and this is probably, if I had to guess, besides the Massachusetts Veterans Chamber of Commerce, this is one of the least utilized yet most important resource organizations out there.
Yeah, if I can sort of give you a quick overview. My name is Len Gendron. I am the chapter chairman and of the Western Massachusetts SCORE and the assistant district director for Massachusetts and Rhode Island SCORE chapters. SCORE is an all-volunteer organization founded in 1964 nationally and in Western Massachusetts in 1970. Our services are always free. Our members are experienced business people. Someone would reach out to us if they want to start a business. Maybe you don't even have an idea, but you don't know where to start. If they have an existing business but have some problem like not enough customers, marketing, cash flow problems, pricing or cost problems, legal structure issues, or maybe thinking of getting out of business and you want to sell or pass the business off to someone else, or basically any other business problem. Our motto is for the life of your business. SCORE nationally has 10,000 volunteers across the country in 179 industries at last count. Our clients have access to each one of those volunteers. You can find us at score.org. Just enter your zip code and click on Request a Mentor button, and you'll be matched with someone who meets your geographic or skill requirements. I think the last thing I would add is that based on our mission, we can very easily collaborate with any of the organizations that have been presented on here. We want to give our clients the best experience possible. So I don't care what you're doing out here, whatever you presented, we want to work with you. We want our clients to work with you. And at last count, we worked with over 54,000 businesses nationally last year, and we want to work with anyone in this area. Thanks everybody for your presentation. I learned a lot about some new folks here, and I hope to get a chance to meet you going forward.
You are on mute, Lisa.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We went 4 minutes over. I'm grateful it was only 4 minutes. But thank you, everybody. This is going to be placed on the MassVCC website. Everybody is going to get the link to this recording and the information that was given out. So you will be good to go. The resource guide has all the information pertaining to the businesses that have been here and presented, as well as their websites, so that you can reach out to them. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. But thank you all. This now concludes our networking event.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Everyone.